This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. It appears the regulator had concluded its case into Sentebale. So apparently, just released, the Charity Commission has concluded its compliance case into Sentebale, a charity which works with children and young people in South Africa. It does say here on the commission site that the commission has issued the charity with a regulatory action plan to address governance weaknesses after a damaging internal dispute emerged. The commission has identified a lack of clarity around role descriptions and internal policies as the primary cause for weaknesses in the charity's management. It finds that this confusion exacerbated tensions which culminated in a dispute and multiple resignations of trustees and both founding patrons. The regulator has criticized all parties to the dispute for allowing it to play out publicly and further concluded that the then trustees' failure to resolve disputes internally severely impacted the charity's reputation and risked undermining public trust in charities more generally. So the background. In 2023, Sentebale's then trustees sought to implement a new fundraising strategy in the United States. In the period that followed, a serious dispute within the charity emerged between the charity's chair of trustees, Dr. Sophie Chandaka, some of the other trustees of the charity, and one of its patrons, the Duke of Sussex. Concerns about relationships breaking down were first raised with the Charity Commission in February of 2025. After a period of assessing the concerns raised, the Commission opened a regulatory compliance case in April of 2025. The purpose of the Commission's case has been to determine whether the charity's current and former trustees, including its chair, have fulfilled their duties and responsibilities under charity law. The Commission's role as regulator is not to adjudicate or to mediate internal disputes in charities. With the findings, a number of concerns were raised by different parties. After conducting interviews and thoroughly reviewing all evidence submitted, the Commission found 1. The delegation of certain powers to the chair, including consideration of an executive chair role, was a confusing, convoluted, and poorly governed process, with a lack of clearly defined delegations over time. 2. The then trustees failed to have proper processes and policies in place to investigate internal complaints. 3. More generally, a lack of clear policies contributed to the failure to resolve disputes. And 4, it was not satisfied that public statements made to the media and public criticism made in television interviews were conducted in a way that served the charity's best interests. And I think that bullet right there was a shot at Harry and Meghan. Based on the evidence provided and reviewed by the Commission, it found no evidence of widespread or systemic bullying or harassment, including misogyny or misogynoir at the charity, but the Commission has acknowledged the strong perception of ill treatment felt by a number of parties to the dispute and the impact this may have had on them personally. And 2, overreach by either the chair or the Duke of Sussex as patron, but the Commission is critical of the charity's lack of clarity in delegations to the chair, which allowed for misunderstandings to occur. The failure to clarify delegations within the charity to the chair and the failure to have proper processes for internal complaints both amount to mismanagement in the administration of the charity. Separately, the Commission expects that in future, the charity should have a clearly defined patron role set out in writing. Conclusions. The Commission's assessment of the various accounts that have been provided is that all the charity's then trustees contributed to a missed opportunity to resolve issues which led to the dispute. The regulator observed that strategic and financial difficulties that had emerged for the charity followed the COVID-19 pandemic contributed to the tensions that arose. The regulator urges trustees of all charities, if in disagreement, not to lose sight of their charity's best interests or the good work it does for those who need it. As made clear to all parties in this case, if disputes do occur, the regulator recommends seeking mediation, showing goodwill and acting in good faith. It also encourages all trustees to be mindful to channel their belief in the charity's mission in a constructive and collaborative way. As far as the next steps, the charity currently has validly appointed trustees in place to take the charity forward. The Commission has issued a regulatory action plan setting out steps the current trustees need to take, including to implement an internal dispute policy, improve the charity's complaints and whistleblowing procedures, and establish clear processes for delegating authority on behalf of the charity. The Regulatory Action Plan also sets out the importance of the trustees securing sufficient funding to enable the charity to deliver for its beneficiaries. The regulator is monitoring the charity's progress against the Regulatory Action Plan. Should it receive evidence that raises new regulatory concerns, it will assess this in line with its usual process. The final word by David Holdsworth, who is the chief executive of the Charity Commission. He says, "Passion for a cause is the bedrock of volunteering and charity, delivering positive impact for millions of people here at home and abroad every day. However, in rare cases, when things go wrong, it is often because that very passion has become a weakness rather than a strength. Sentebale's problems played out in the public eye, enabling a damaging dispute to harm the charity's reputation, risks overshadowing its many achievements, and jeopardizing the charity's ability to deliver for the very beneficiaries it was created to serve. This case highlights what can happen when there are gaps in governance and policies critical to charities' ability to deliver for their cause. As a result, we have issued the charity a regulatory action plan to make needed improvements and rectify findings of mismanagement." He also added, "Moving forward, I urge all parties not to lose sight of those who rely on the charity's services. The current trustees must now make improvements and ensure the charity focuses on delivering for those it exists to serve." Now, of course, Prince Harry is the first one to speak out about this because technically this was in his favor. Because originally, when Sophie came out, she was the one that accused the Sussex squad and her being bullied. I mean, what a mess. But in a statement responding to the findings, a spokesperson for Prince Harry said, "Unsurprisingly, the Commission makes no findings of wrongdoing in relation to Sentebale's co-founder and former patron, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex. They also found no evidence of widespread bullying, harassment, or misogyny and misogynoir at the charity, as falsely claimed by the current chair, throwing essentially Sophie under the bus." Harry's spokesperson continues on. "Despite all that, their report falls troublingly short in many regards, primarily the fact that the consequences of the current chair's actions will not be borne by her, but by the children who rely on Sentebale's support," the spokesperson continued. A source tells People that Prince Harry and Prince Cecil see no way back to the charity while Chandaka is in place, but that they are keeping their options open. Both Prince Harry and Prince Cecil are devastated by what has effectively been a hostile takeover by Sophie Chandaka. The source close to the former trustees and patron says, "This was Prince Cecil's and Prince Harry's life work. They established it 19 years ago, and in that time put in blood, sweat, and tears and their own money into building this charity up to what it was. A multi-million-pound charity that delivered nothing but good for the beneficiary community that is supported in Lesotho and Botswana." Not for nothing, Harry's such a jerk. He couldn't take this moment and just for once not be petty. Here he is throwing Sophie under the bus, essentially saying that the damage that has caused to this charity is not a result of us bickering and making this public, which, by the way, it was Harry who went to the media first to announce that Sophie internally launched this investigation because they wanted to kick her off the board. Let's not forget that. So it was this guy who actually was the one who brought this to the public stage. But here he is kicking Sophie down and making it sound like, well, it's your fault that these children are being impacted as a result of this brouhaha that we had publicly. Instead, he could have just humbled himself and said, you know what, let's put this charity first and foremost, and we'll squash what we have to and just, move forward. Nope, that's not Harry. He has to issue this scathing statement, which makes him just look even that much more pathetic, in my opinion. Now, what's very interesting here is in a separate statement, Sentebale's former trustees expressed disappointment in the commission's findings, saying key issues they raised about the charity's leadership had been overlooked. In quotes, "We are disheartened by the way in which the Charity Commission has chosen to ignore key concerns and irrefutable evidence raised with them regarding the leadership and oversight of Sentebale's chair." The statement read, "We accept there is always room to strengthen governance of an organization, which is why we welcomed a governance review by the chair initiated in February 2024, and that should have only taken a matter of months. We unfortunately never saw a report or any outcomes enacted more than 2 years into her tenure." So again, they are blaming Sophie. "We remain gravely concerned for the future of the charity and the well-being of the communities we served for 19 years, following the mission set out by Prince Harry and Princesa in honor of their mothers," the statement concluded. So this is People magazine pushing this propaganda out, giving a very biased take on what really went down. Sentebale is not taking this lying down. The charity issued a robust statement welcoming the outcome of the compliance case. The Sentebale chairwoman has blamed Prince Harry for causing what she views as incalculable damage to the charity, despite the Duke of Sussex being cleared of wrongdoing by the Charity Commission. Sentebale issued a robust statement welcoming the outcome of the charity's commission compliance case, insisting the organization is now stronger and free from past disruption. Amen. It follows a tumultuous few months for the charity, which was co-founded by Prince Harry and Princesa in memory of their mothers. The commission confirmed it had concluded its review into Sentebale and found that the charity now has validly appointed trustees in place with an action plan issued to strengthen governance. The charity shared that it had cooperated fully with the commission and acknowledged areas for improvement, including a past lack of clarity around role descriptions and internal complaint processes. However, it stressed the charity had remained focused on delivering its mission throughout the investigation. I don't know about you, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they didn't find anything pertaining to the bullying allegations or the accusations around misogyny. And I think it has a lot to do because this is the king's son. I feel like this guy is never going to be held accountable for anything. His wife's bad behavior was clearly on display. I think Sophie needs to just release those text messages and let the public see what's the truth here. It just, I don't know, man. I'm not shocked. That's all I can say. And this commission report, their findings, it just sounded like parents trying to, get their kids to stop fighting. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys need to be nicer to each other. It's like the message that they're sending here essentially is, we don't air dirty laundry out in the public. And, we're going to come together. We're going to put this charity first. But clearly, Harry didn't listen to a word of that, because here he is in People magazine taking a swipe at Sophie, blaming her essentially for, his contribution to causing this damage. Anyway, I hope that Sentebale is able to bounce back and move forward and to be able to serve the communities that they need to be serving. I just hope that Harry and Meghan, knowing that these two love to hold grudges, will do whatever they can in their power to see something fail, just to say, I told you so. type situation, because the whole thing here was that they wanted to force this woman, Sophie, out, and that didn't happen. And because she didn't leave, Harry and Prince Aso left, and we know that Harry didn't want to leave this charity. I can honestly see machinations happening in the background, to which Sophie's going to have to step down, and then Harry may come back. Anything's possible. But what do you guys think of this outcome? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.